I'm Hill Harper. I'm an actor, I'm an author, and someone who cares about social justice and education.
After months of quiet speculation, subtle hints, and those blink-and-you-miss-it moments that only the most dedicated fans could catch, everything just changed, and not in a small way. This time, it wasn't just another vague post or a coincidental sighting. This was different. This was direct, unexpected, and honestly, shocking. Because just when people thought they had Melody Shari all figured out, she flipped the entire narrative. And at the center of it all, Hill Harper.
Do I know you?
Actor, author, philanthropist, and now a proud single father.
Now, if you've been following this story from the beginning, you already know how carefully this has been playing out. No loud announcements, no messy interviews, just quiet energy, soft hints, and a growing feeling that something real was happening behind the scenes. But what nobody expected was for Melody to step forward the way she just did. And trust me, what she revealed didn't just surprise fans, it left people questioning everything they thought they knew. Because sometimes the biggest moments don't come with warnings, they just arrive and change everything. Melody Shari has never been a stranger to attention. From her time in reality television to building her brand as a businesswoman, she's always carried herself with a certain level of grace and control. Even when her personal life played out in front of millions, she remained composed, choosing her words carefully and never giving too much away. That's part of what makes this situation so interesting. Because for a long time, Melody's life has been about rebuilding, finding peace, learning how to move forward after public heartbreak. Fans watched her go through emotional ups and downs, trying to balance strength with vulnerability. And through it all, she made one thing clear: she was focused on herself. That's why when Hill Harper started appearing in the conversation, people were curious but cautious.
Story just in time for Father's Day about an award-winning actor who's taking on possibly the biggest role in his life as a single dad. We're going to speak to Hill Harper.
Now, at first, it didn't seem like much. A like here, a shared event there, maybe even a few similar messages posted around the same time. Nothing concrete, nothing you could point to and say, yes, this is definitely something. But over time, those little moments started adding up. Fans began noticing patterns, the way they spoke about life, the way they hinted at growth, connection, and timing. It felt aligned, almost too aligned to be random. Still, neither of them confirmed anything, and that silence, it only made things louder. Because when two people choose not to explain themselves, people start filling in the blanks. Social media turned into a full-on investigation. Every caption was analyzed, every emoji was questioned, even the backgrounds of their photos were compared. Were they in the same place, at the same time? It started to feel like a puzzle, and fans were determined to solve it. But here's the thing about Melody. She doesn't move without intention. So while everyone else was trying to figure things out, she was quietly living her life, letting the speculation build without ever feeding into it directly. Until now. Because what happened next, nobody saw it coming. It all started with what seemed like a normal moment. Melody went live. Nothing unusual about that. She's done it before, connecting with her audience, sharing updates, talking about life. But this time, something felt different from the very beginning.
Her energy. It was calm but confident, relaxed but intentional. She wasn't just talking, she was preparing to say something. At first, the conversation stayed light. She spoke about her work, her goals, and how she's been feeling lately. She smiled more than usual. There was a sense of peace about her, like someone who knows something others don't. And then it happened. A comment popped up. Someone asked about Hill. You could almost feel the shift. For a split second, Melody paused. Not awkwardly, not nervously, just thoughtfully. And instead of brushing it off like she had done in the past, she leaned in. That alone caught people off guard, because Melody doesn't entertain rumors unless she wants to. She took a breath, smiled, and then said something that instantly changed everything. "I've learned that when something is real, you don't have to force it. You don't have to explain it. You just let it grow." That sentence, it hit hard. Fans immediately started reacting. The comments exploded. People were typing faster than they could think. But she wasn't done. She continued, speaking in that same calm tone, choosing her words carefully but clearly. "I'm in a very good place right now, and the people around me, they reflect that." Now let's be honest, that wasn't a direct confirmation, but it didn't feel like a denial either. And that gray area, that's where things got intense. Because within minutes, clips of that live started spreading everywhere. People replayed it over and over, trying to catch every detail. Her tone, her expression, the way she smiled when she spoke. And then came the real twist. Just hours after that live ended, something unexpected happened on social media. Hill Harper posted. Now normally that wouldn't mean much, but timing is everything. His post wasn't flashy, it wasn't dramatic, it was simple but powerful. A photo, a peaceful setting, and a caption that read, "Some connections don't need to be explained, they just need to be respected." That was it. No names, no tags, but guess what? He liked Melody's live clip. And just like that, the internet lost it. Because now it wasn't just speculation anymore. It felt like a conversation, like two people speaking to each other without saying each other's names. And fans picked up on it instantly. People started connecting the dots faster than ever. The timing lined up too perfectly to ignore. The energy matched, the message was clear, at least clear enough for those paying attention. But here's where things got even more interesting. Instead of backing away from the attention, Melody leaned into her silence. She didn't clarify. She didn't deny. She simply continued living her life. And that confidence, it said more than words ever could. Days later, new details began to surface. A fan claimed they saw Melody and Hill at the same private event. Not a public appearance, not something meant for cameras, something low-key, exclusive. According to the source, they weren't overly affectionate. They weren't putting on a show, but they were together, talking, laughing, comfortable. And sometimes that kind of energy speaks louder than anything else. Still, without official confirmation, people were divided. Some believed it was real, others thought it was just coincidence. But then came the moment that truly shifted everything. Melody posted again. This time, it wasn't a live, it wasn't a long message. It was just a photo, a soft, glowing picture of her smiling, peaceful, relaxed, and genuinely happy. The caption? Alignment feels different. You don't question it, you don't chase it, you just recognize it. And guess who liked it within minutes? Hill Harper. That was the moment fans stopped asking if and started asking when, because at this point, the connection wasn't just implied, it was felt. And what nobody expected was how calmly, how intentionally Melody handled it all. No drama, no chaos, just quiet confidence. But behind that calm exterior, there was a deeper story unfolding. Because for Melody, this wasn't just about a possible relationship. It was about growth, about moving forward after everything she's been through, about choosing peace over noise, and maybe, just maybe, allowing herself to experience something new without rushing to define it. That's what made this so powerful. Because in a world where everything is usually loud, fast, and overexposed, this felt different. This felt real. But of course, not everyone saw it that way. Critics began to question the timing. Some wondered if it was strategic. Others asked why neither of them would just come out and say it clearly. And those questions, they added another layer to the story. Because now, it wasn't just about Melody and Hill. It was about control, about privacy, about deciding what parts of your life belong to you and what parts you're willing to share.
And Melody made her position very clear, without ever directly saying it. She wasn't going to rush, she wasn't going to explain, she was simply going to live. And whether people understood it or not, she seemed completely at peace with that choice. And that peace, that's what really stood out. Because for someone who has faced so much public scrutiny, so many opinions, and so much noise, to reach a place where you no longer feel the need to defend or explain yourself, that's powerful. That's growth. And maybe that's what this entire situation is really about. Not just a relationship, but a new chapter. One where Melody gets to define her story on her own terms. And if Hill is part of that story, then it's happening in a way that feels natural, not forced. And honestly, that's rare. Because the emotional impact of all this feels deeper than just headlines and speculation. For fans who have followed Melody's journey, this moment feels personal.
They've seen her at her lowest. They've watched her rebuild. They've supported her through heartbreak, growth, and transformation. So to now see her smiling like this, speaking with peace instead of pain, it means something. It feels like closure to one chapter and the beginning of another. And for her family, her close circle, the people who truly know her, this shift likely carries even more weight. Because behind the scenes, away from the cameras, this isn't just a story, it's real life, real emotions, real healing, real choices. And whether this connection with Hill Harper turns into something long-term or remains something private and undefined, the impact is already clear. Melody is different now, stronger, calmer, more certain of what she wants and what she doesn't. And sometimes that kind of transformation is the real story, not who she's with, but who she's becoming. And as this story continues to unfold, one thing is certain: this isn't over, not even close. Because whether they choose to go public or keep things exactly the way they are, people are watching, waiting, trying to understand what's really happening behind those subtle messages and quiet moments. But maybe that's the point. Maybe not everything needs to be fully explained. Maybe some stories are meant to unfold slowly, naturally, without pressure. And maybe that's exactly what Melody is showing us, that you can live your life, protect your peace, and still leave the world curious. Because in the end, the biggest twist wasn't what she said, it was how she said it. Calm, confident, unbothered, and completely in control. So now the question isn't just, are they together? It's what happens next? Will they finally step into the spotlight as a couple, or will they continue moving in silence, letting the world wonder? Either way, one thing is clear: Melody Shari just changed the narrative. And whatever comes next, you already know, people will be watching.